There's now more evidence that the situation in Afghanistan is deteriorating. According to a new United Nations report, violence has increased in Afghanistan 39% since last year, with more and more armed clashes and homemade bomb attacks being carried out by Taliban insurgents. In just 3 months, June through August of this year, 971 civilians were killed and another 1,400 injured in this ongoing war. But it's not just insurgents killing civilians, it's our own airstrikes. As the UN report notes, in the month of July, 38 civilians were killed by U.S. airstrikes. Not exactly a recipe for military success. But as our quagmire in Afghanistan continues, a new quagmire may be just getting underway right now in Pakistan. Last week, outgoing Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Admiral Mike Mullen, who has visited Pakistan 27 times since 2008. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta says Pakistan has proven safe haven to a terrorist group that carried out attacks in the U.S. Embassy in Kabul. Mullen prompted many, he and both of them actually, prompting many to say that the Pentagon is upping the ante with Pakistan. Meanwhile, right-wing writers and pundits are openly calling for attacks on Pakistan, or for us to abandon our balance of support of both India and Pakistan in their disputes, as Rick Perry so ham-handedly suggested in the last Republican debate.
The Haqqani Network, for one, acts as a veritable arm of Pakistan's Internal Services Intelligence Agency. With ISI support, Haqqani operatives planned and conducted that truck bomb attack, as well as the assault on our embassy. We also have credible intelligence that they were behind the June 28th attack on the Intercontinental Hotel in Kabul and a host of other smaller but effective operations.
For more on this, I'm joined by Tom Hayden, former California State Senator, author, educator, one of the early co-founders of STS, lifelong activist. Tom, welcome back.
Thanks, Tom. Nice to be here.
Thanks. Great to have you here with us. Excuse me, just a second. Sorry. Thomas Jefferson once said of slavery, "But as it is, we have the wolf by the ears, and we can neither hold him nor safely let him go. Justice is on one scale and self-preservation on the other." Has George W. Bush, by starting 2 illegal and incompetent wars, set up a similar dilemma for Obama?
I don't think that was his intention, but that's the outcome. And it's not 2 wars. It's Pakistan is a 3rd, Yemen, Somalia, and according to Bob Woodward's book, we have special operations in 60 countries. That's 6-0. It's a long war concept. That's what Bush has given Obama.
And is it true that the Obama administration has drawn up contingency plans to strike 150 targets inside Pakistan if there's another attack in Afghanistan that might be tracked back to ISI, Pakistan's intelligence service, and or the Pakistani government or groups affiliated with them?
Not exactly. According to Bob Woodward's book, though, there is a secret contingency plan to strike 150 targets, virtually all of them in Pakistan, if there's a successful bombing attack on the United States that can be traced to anyone in Pakistan. That happened Christmas Day a couple of years ago. It happened at Times Square last year. It's happened several times. The attacks have succeeded, but the bombs didn't go off. This contingency plan, I think, is set so that the president can't really stop it. I think that's what you get if you look closely at the interviews that Bob Woodward did in his book, Obama's Wars. So yes, we're in a danger where at any moment, anybody who is allegedly trained in Pakistan to attack the United States is successful. This contingency, this button will be pushed and these bombs will go off. And I've asked some people, and also in Woodward's book, he says there's no plan B. In other words, if you ask, well, what would happen the next day? That may be a deeper secret, but there's apparently no one seems to know what we would do next.
So there's a situation where If the Times Square bomber had gone off and there was clear connections between him and Pakistan, whether
There were.
Then we would automatically launch 150 strikes against Pakistan. Am I getting that right?
We would launch 150 attacks against sites, presumably terrorist sites, presumably all in Pakistan. Yes, that's the plan, and it's you have to read the histories and so on, but no one has disputed it. I've asked around. I've written several articles on it. But so that's hanging over our head. We had a similar situation, obviously, during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
I was just thinking of that.
That was a nuclear crisis. But no one knows what terrorist organizations or Pakistan or anyone else would do if we hit 150 targets overnight in Pakistan. That's the sword that is hanging over us.
Right.
In the meantime, the more immediate issue, I think, is the anti-war movement needs to be very clear that there is a creeping expansion of American ground troops getting ready for Pakistan. That's what all that talk you let in about with the Admiral Mullen's testimony. He's testing the water. We allegedly don't have troops in Pakistan, although everybody knows there's some secret ops in and out. But this would be a plan for American troops to go into the tribal areas on the ground and attack. It would be similar, I think, on a lesser scale, but exactly the same as Richard Nixon invading Cambodia in order to find the Viet Cong headquarters in the jungle. Right. And you know what happened to Nixon. So
yeah, that worked out really well.
It's a very dangerous situation in Pakistan.
Pakistan is a nuclear-armed nation, and
correct.
Certainly past behavior would probably love to have another fight with India. I mean, they still have
correct.
A lot of border disputes going on, Kashmir being the least of them. Are America's right-wingers who are calling for more conflict in that area, or for that matter, this administration with the situation that you just described, playing with nuclear fire in that region? These are both nuclear-equipped nations, and I frankly, to the best of my knowledge, we don't know the throw power of the nuclear capability of either nation. Could Pakistan, for example, drop a nuke in the United States?
No, I don't think so. But I don't know if the right wing has a coherent position on this. What I do know is that in response to Admiral Mullen's testimony last week, the Heritage Foundation immediately issued a report urging an escalation, urging the designation of a group of people that we're supposed to be trying to engage in peace talks with be listed as a terrorist organization. So they were ready on a moment's notice to back up the statement by Mullen and urge a stronger position against Pakistan. You know, we're getting out of, for the most part, out of Iraq and out of Afghanistan slowly, painfully, like a bloody line in the desert. So it doesn't make any sense to then escalate in another country unless you buy this sanctuary theory, which reminds me of the old domino theory. Remember, the enemy was supposed to be communism, and there would be falling dominoes, and you had to intervene to stop these dominoes from falling. Now it's sanctuaries. We claim there's a sanctuary in Afghanistan. We go in. We say we wiped out the sanctuary, there's no al-Qaeda there, but in doing so, if that's what happened, it gets pushed to Pakistan. And then we have to invade Pakistan to get rid of the sanctuary there. And then, if you listen to the public statements by the CIA, it's moved to Yemen, which is now considered the most dangerous country in the world from the point of view of attacking the United States. And when we go into Yemen and wipe out that sanctuary in a country that barely has an economy, you can also find in the counterinsurgency documents and the writings that there's actually sanctuaries in Europe. The sanctuaries in Europe are created by human rights laws that give civil liberties protections to too many Islamic terrorists who are lurking in Europe. Remember, 9/11 came from Hamburg, Germany, so this is not complete fantasy.
So we end up bombing Germany.
This would, exactly. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization should go home and attack Europe, right? That's where the logic goes.
Well, it seems
here they are
that there could be almost a World War I scenario where we see. But Tom, we're flat out of time. Thank you for the illumination. I think. I mean, this is
Go to the petition, TomHayden.org. See if you can circulate it to your friends and just study it, discuss it. Thanks very much, Thom Hartmann.
You got it. TomHayden.org. Thank you, Tom. It's been nearly a decade since the Afghanistan war started, and that's a decade too long. Time to end the wars and bring home our soldiers.